Hey, this is Rick from For Community, creating community spaces so you can connect with others and also with God. Little illustration just to set up the video for today. Long time ago, I'm in high school, I'm in gym class, and my gym teacher just steps out to do who knows what, whatever gym teachers need to do. So this guy decides to take advantage of the situation. He's like at least a foot taller than me. And he's got about 40 pounds on me. And he decides to pick a fight with me. The response of the people around me was shock. And they're all just standing, watching what's going to happen, watching the train wreck as it unfolds, as this guy wants to start picking a fight with me and starts punching me and starts pummeling me. What do you think? How should I have responded to that moment way back in high school? Well, actually, let me ask a question that's more about you. If you're watching with someone, take a moment, pause the video, and tell the person that you're with a time of when you perhaps were bullied and somebody tried to hurt you, how you responded, and how you wish you responded in hindsight. In this video, we're taking a look at Philippians chapter 1, verses 12 to 19. This is a moment in this passage right here where Paul talks about how he's getting bullied by other Christians. Oh yes, Christians like to bully other Christians all the time. It's so sad. However, his response to being bullied is something that we don't often see. And I want you to know, my dear brothers and sisters, that everything that has happened to me here has helped to spread the good news. For everyone here, including the whole palace guard, knows that I'm in chains because of Christ and because of my imprisonment. Most of the believers here have gained confidence and boldly speak God's message without fear. It's true that some are preaching out of jealousy and rivalry. But others preach about Christ with pure motives. They preach because they love me and they know how I've been appointed to defend the good news. Those others do not have pure motives as they preach about Christ. They preach with selfish ambition, not sincerely, intending to make my chains more painful to me. But that doesn't matter. Whether their motives are false or genuine, the message about Christ is being preached either way. So I rejoice, and I will continue to rejoice. For I know that as you pray for me and the Spirit of Jesus Christ helps me, this will lead to my deliverance. Hey kids, thanks for watching with your parents. Please keep your eye on the background for all the stuff hidden in there for you. And also please remember to watch this week's episode of Connect HQ. Here's what this video is about based on this passage. It's about a question. I want to ask you this. What's the best way to respond when someone intentionally tries to hurt you? Philippians is like the psychology book of the New Testament. In it, it deals with a couple of things that happen inside of our heads, how we get stuck in our emotions, in our thoughts, and what that does to our life. And Paul addresses some of these things and helps us move beyond this. And so I'm going to take a moment to talk about how real this is. I mean, people try to hurt us all the time, and that's no joke, and it's reality. And then after I talk about that, I'm going to take a moment to offer you a perspective on how you can respond when you're intentionally hurt. You know, I mean, there's more than one option, and some of these options are pretty healthy. What I don't want for you is I don't want you to loop around in the hurt and pause your life and stay stuck and hold on to grudges and get angry and get mean and your life gets all kind of yucky and gross. I don't want you to be stuck in that. What I would like to help you with is this. I'd like us to find a better way of how to respond to the hurt that people have caused to us intentionally. There are some better options for us to look at, and we're going to look at it in this video. I've got 2 points. Let's start here. Some people try to hurt you. That's just reality. There's nothing we can do about that. The text actually says, intending to make my chains more painful. I'm in high school. This guy in my gym class picks a fight with me. Here's the backstory. I was attending youth group for about a year, and I made friends with somebody in there who grew up in the church. However, by the end of the year, he had chosen to give up on it and chosen to go his own way, and he was done with Jesus. I didn't do anything to deserve his trash talk, his beats, I didn't do anything to deserve it. I was just the target for something that was going on in his own life, and he wanted to take it out on me. So that's going to be familiar to you too. Okay, you've had someone who just didn't like you, maybe didn't know you at all, but you experienced some kind of oppression, some kind of negative event because of this person, organization, this system people are not the loving people that we all want them to be. We all have some kind of evil in our hearts. We all have the capacity to do bad things to other people. I'm not minimizing your pain. I'm not minimizing my pain. I'm trying to normalize this. People are going to hurt us, and occasionally we're going to hurt people too. That's not news. The question is, what's the best way to respond to it? In this text, Paul is in prison, arrested for telling people about Jesus. He's on his way, so he thinks, to lose his life for sharing the gospel. And while he's in prison, there's some nefarious activity going on outside of the prison to gloat over his position. Some people on the outside who didn't like Paul decided to go where Paul was preaching, and they started preaching to what they felt was his audience. They're gaining converts that should have been Paul's, is what they were thinking in their mind. That's how they saw it. They're talking badly about Paul, saying stuff like, look how effective we are. Paul is so horrible. Paul's just a hack. They're not doing it because they care about the people they're going to. They care about the numbers of people they have filling their seats on a Sunday morning. It's a number game for them. They don't really care. What they do care about is a message getting to Paul that shows how pathetic Paul is and how much he deserves to be in prison. So painful, so hurtful. This is what Paul is enduring while he's shackled with heavy chains. Have you ever had someone tease you about your failure? Have you ever had someone walk by you in the office with the very last donut and rub it in your face, saying that you lost out? Or how about this one? My little 6-year-old girl, she knows that I like her hair long. So whenever mommy thinks it's time for a trim, she comes to me and she starts brushing her hair and smiling right in front of me. And I'm saying something like, oh, your hair looks so pretty. And then she says, yes, and now mommy's going to cut it. Like, what? Like she's stabbing me in the heart. And I say, no! And then she, of course, gets a trim. Then she comes back and she gloats and says, see, Daddy? Mommy cut my hair. Just like to stab me in the heart and rub it in. It's just devious. She's nefarious like that. In many capacities, in big ways, in small ways, in ugly, painful ways, and in adorable ways, people will mistreat you. The really, really important question, though, is this. How do you respond to something like that? How do you respond to the heartbreak, to the oppression, to the hurt? How do you respond to your adorable daughter? How do you do that? How do you respond to hurt, to intentional hurt against you in a way that doesn't get you trapped inside of that hurt so you can't move forward and you're stuck there and you're wallowing in it and you're going over and over the memory of that and saying, woe is me, I am undone, there's no moving forward from this, I've lost all my men. How do you move forward? Tell you what Paul did. Paul's in prison, physically wearing big, heavy chains. And he models for us a great way to respond. The guy actually celebrates. He doesn't celebrate the mistreatment. He doesn't celebrate the wrongness of how he's imprisoned, but he does celebrate, which gets him out of the sadness, the depression, the anger, the jealousy, the rage. It takes him out of all of that. It clears his head and it gets him functioning again in a healthy way so that he can move forward. And that's what I'd like to share with you too. So here's my second point. What would it take to celebrate your hurt? Okay, I'm going to form this point in a question so that we can think through what makes sense in our own scenarios. The text actually says, whether their motives are false or genuine, the message about Christ is being preached either way, so I rejoice. My friend in high school, he picked a fight with me in gym class because I was following Jesus and he wanted nothing to do with it. And I think it started because earlier that day I asked him if he wanted to come back to youth group because we were hanging around, he wasn't there anymore. I asked him if he wanted to come back and he did not take it well at all because he was on his way out, totally mad, totally rejecting. Now, how is that a moment to celebrate when some guy wants to take his anger against God out on me? Well, how about this? I had just started following Jesus maybe a year before this. I gained ground with my faith so quickly that I started to stand out as a Jesus follower. That's actually something to celebrate, that people recognized there was a change in me and people recognized that I was helping them connect with Jesus. After that moment, I became known, in my grade at least, as the guy who helped people connect with Jesus. That's something to celebrate. I didn't celebrate that moment where the guy wanted to beat me up, but I did celebrate, or at least I could have celebrated, had I handled it just a little bit better, that it was a moment where people actually recognized that I was connecting with Jesus and I was gaining ground with Jesus. Okay, now that's a weak story, and I get it, and it's a long time ago. I get it. I didn't want to take on anything really big right now. I wanted to keep it simple because I want you to think about you. This is real life stuff, right? This is stuff we're living with. The pain that we experience, the pain that we see experienced by others, real stuff. Paul's pain in prison on his way to be martyred is real stuff. You're dealing with real stuff too. What would it take to see our pain as a moment of celebration like Paul could, so that we don't have to stay stuck in it and we can start moving forward? For Paul, he tied his pain into his goals and into his values. His goal was to share the good news about Jesus to as many people as he could. And even though the mockers were trying to make him feel worse about himself, his goal was met. Also, he valued people connecting with Jesus and growing as followers. So what was happening is his chains inspired all the people around him to take their faith seriously and also to get on mission. He writes two significant things. He writes, everything that has happened to me here has helped people to share the good news. And he also writes, most of the believers here have gained confidence and boldly speak God's message. People are getting on track and people are getting on mission. And so Paul says, even though I'm in these chains, even though this is a horrible moment, I'm not going to stay stuck in my head about this. I'm going to find reasons to celebrate, because in the middle of my pain, there's lots of great stuff that's going on. He doesn't celebrate his pain. How could anyone celebrate pain? How could anyone celebrate hurt? He celebrates that the pain he's had to endure has resulted in a better outcome. More people coming to Jesus. More people are stepping up and taking the mission seriously. What would it take for you to celebrate during your moments of hurt? I mean, our go-to is to yell, is to get even, to get mad, to call the police. Or how about ranting on Facebook or ranting on YouTube, like we haven't seen enough of that these days, right? Those are our go-tos. For Paul, he celebrated Jesus. Jesus was his value. Jesus was his goal. The gospel was being shared. People committing to getting on mission, getting their lives on track. For Paul, the things he saw most valuable as the most valuable part of his life, those things were being fulfilled and getting done. So while he was suffering in a way that he really didn't deserve to be suffering in, because people were acting badly towards him, he made a choice to change his perspective, look at things a little bit differently. He looked at his world through the lens of Jesus, through his values, and through his goals. What lens can you look through in order to see what positive things are happening around you? What could you do to take your eyes off of the hurt and onto things that are worthy of celebrating? I mean, you can stay in your pain and you can carry on your complaining for as long as you want. And I'm not trying to diminish that, because people are truly in pain and people are truly hurting. But can you also choose to look at things from a different perspective? Are your goals getting met in a different way? Are the people you most care about receiving any kind of benefit? Is Jesus receiving your focus? So I think this might be a great thing to talk about this coming Sunday at 10:30. While we gather on Zoom. I think there's a lot to talk about here as you begin to share your story with us, if that's what you feel comfortable doing, and we talk about our stories together and we help each other try to figure out what are the positive things going on around us that we can celebrate. We're not going to diminish the pain. We're not going to diminish the hurt. That's there, and it's going to be hard for that to go away. But there's so much around us that's probably worth celebrating, and it may take a group of friends to help us see those things, so we don't have to get stuck and we can keep on moving forward, because Jesus really loves you. He doesn't want you to get stuck. Jesus loves you so much, and he's doing so much good around you, for you, through other people, because of you, because of your testimony, because of your life. You know, pain and hurt is so real, but Jesus and you are so much bigger than your hurt and your pain, and there's so much more to you than your hurt and your pain, and Jesus sees that, and he's working stuff all around you. And so this Sunday, 10:30, Let's talk among a group of friends to try to help each other out so we don't get stuck in our heads and we continue to move forward together. Here's the takeaway. Pain happens. Hurt happens. There are people who are going to try to hurt you, and that is a normal thing, and it's never going to go away. When they do, you can choose to focus on the hurt, and you can get stuck there. And if that's what you want to do, if that's what you need to do, okay, that's what you need to do. Or you can choose to look at things from a little bit different perspective. What good has resulted in the presence of your hurt? What is Jesus doing with that? What opportunities now present themselves to you that you can take a hold of and you can advance, while you are experiencing the hurt of this moment? Jesus is big, and you are so much bigger than the hurt and the pain that you're experiencing. So this Sunday, let's connect 10:30 on Zoom. That's it from me to you for now. Would you please like? Would you please share? Would you please subscribe? That's totally awesome. Thank you for doing that for community, creating community spaces so you can connect with others and also with God. See you next time.